Hello, this is the third of a series of videos on an old paper I wrote, A Baha'i View of Human Rights. The paper was first presented at an international symposium on the conception of human rights held under the aegis of the International Sociological Association in Dubrovnik in 1985. I politely edited it for publication. It has recently been published in Mikhail Sergeev's collection of essays, Religion and Science in the Globalized World. I'll give the details for that book below. The paper represents my own personal take on what I see as the Baha'i view of human rights. I've divided the videos up into 7 from the paper. We're now on to the third one on political freedoms. Under that general heading, I've identified 4 topics which seem relevant. First, justice and freedom. Secondly, equality before the law and due process. Thirdly, just government. And fourthly, participation. Baha'i views on political freedom are interlinked with the practical responses of the Baha'i leaders to the political situations of their time. With its messianic vision, the Baha'i movement, which flourished from 1844 up through 1853, out of which the Baha'i religion had initially emerged, had carried a powerful political charge, which had quickly led to its suppression by the Iranian state. Part of Baha'u'llah's subsequent transformation of the Baha'i movement had been to command his followers to eschew all such acts as might lead to bloodshed or sedition. The Baha'is were further commanded to be loyal to the government of the state in which they resided, and subsequently advised to strictly avoid involvement in party politics. These various commands remain normative for contemporary Baha'is. For Baha'u'llah, unlimited freedom brought with it the danger of sedition, whose flames none can quench. Constraints on human behavior were a necessary part of social life, a means of upholding human dignity and guarding against depravity and wickedness. True liberty consisted in submission to the laws of God, and in general religion constituted the chief instrument for the establishment of order in the world. That comes from one of Baha'u'llah's later writings. The fear of God was not an innate human characteristic, however, and for the maintenance of social order, justice needed to be administered. Those who were charged with the administration of justice needed to uphold 2 principles: the hope of reward and the fear of punishment. Those who made no effort to control their evil inclinations had to be deterred. The actualities of crime and punishment might change over time, however, so the Baha'i leaders avoided detailing a comprehensive system of crimes and punishments, such as that found in the Islamic Sharia as sacred law. Rather, Baha'u'llah exhorted the administrators of justice to consider the changing exigencies of their time and to judge with wisdom as to what particular constraints then needed to be employed. With regard to certain crimes, however, he was more specific, advocating graduated fines for physical assault and repeated adultery, progressively more severe punishments for repeated theft, and capital punishment or life imprisonment for murder and arson. Prevention of crime was more important than punishment, however. Punishment was necessary, but it only affected a superficial discipline. It was a means of protecting the community's right to security, but it did not of itself uplift the morals and character of the criminal, and might easily degrade them. It was necessary, therefore, to educate people away from the temptations of criminal behavior and vice, and to attract them towards the acquisition of virtues. Equality before the law and due process were important here. Everyone should be equal before the law. The dignity and equality of all human beings should be respected. All should enjoy the protection of the law and of legal process. Injustice and arbitrary rule were to be censured. Guilt could only be established after the most careful investigation and severe punishment should never be meted out in haste, nor without the possibility of appeal to a higher judicial authority. To give unbridled authority to provincial governors, as was the 19th century Iranian practice, was to create the conditions for local despotism. Those who ruled a nation should fear God. If they ruled oppressively with injustice and heedlessness, then they would merit divine judgment and chastisement. Absolutist rule laid the basis for tyranny, and it was therefore necessary for there to be constraints upon the exercise of power, both in terms of constitutional legality and by the establishment of constituent assemblies. Although purely republican forms of government profited all the peoples of the world, constitutional monarchy was advocated as the ideal. The majesty of kingship was regarded as one of the signs of God. According to one report from the British early Baha'i John Esselmont, Abdu'l-Baha also stated that a permanent non-executive head of state provided a greater measure of political stability than an executive presidency did, with its attendant disruptive political contests. This report has not yet been authenticated, however. Republicanism by itself offered no certain defense against corrupt government. Universal education and a general moral awareness on the part of the electorate and those who were elected were also essential conditions for the emergence of genuine political freedom. Federalism, rather than extreme centralization, also constituted a defense against despotism. Whatever the actual form of government, there were certain basic requirements of popular participation and freedom. Such political rights should be available to all, regardless of race or sex. Thus, for the well-being and progress of society as a whole, it was essential that all of its members should be able to enjoy freedom of speech, conscience, and thought. As to participation, apart from the endorsement of the general principles of constituent representation on the basis of democratic elections, the Baha'i principle of consultation seems to provide a paradigm. Thus, Baha'is were bidden to settle all things, both great and small, by consultation. Such consultation was intended to transcend the contradictions of individual opinions. Unlike the procedure of a debate, the objective was to arrive at a consensus of opinion as to the truth of a matter, rather than to secure the victory of a particular argument. The clash of opinions might yield the spark of truth, but the participants should feel themselves to be contributing to a general process of understanding and not battling for their own particular opinions. The opinions of all participants were to be valued regardless of their social position or rank. In the developing system by which Baha'is administer their own affairs, this principle is repeatedly stressed. Those who are elected to any post or institution are not mandated by their electors to promote a particular position, but they are charged to consult with them fully and freely. The right of political participation is not of itself enough. For such participation to become meaningful, the general populace must have the confidence to participate. In this regard, Abdu'l-Baha argued that universal education was an essential element in fostering genuine participation. An uneducated population lacked the means to complain effectively against injustice or to secure their rights in local government. Such a people might long for justice and happiness, but unless they were educated, they lacked even the vocabulary to explain what they want. Again, it was necessary for people to become better informed as to the problems and needs of their time. An informed public opinion needed to be created. Newspapers constituted a potent means of informing people about the contemporary world, but journalists needed to be imbued with a strong sense of moral responsibility for what they wrote. Accurate reporting, fair speech, and truthfulness should be their ideal. Moreover, a free press, an essential adjunct to the freedom of speech, needed both to give full scope to the expansion of the diversified views and convictions of humankind, and to be freed from the manipulation of vested interests. So thank you for listening, and many thanks to my patrons for their kind support and encouragement. Without them, I wouldn't be able to make these videos. You're very welcome to support my channel if you should so wish. Please do like, comment, and share on the videos. Subscribe if you want to be notified of future videos. I'll give a Patreon link below for anyone who wants to provide practical support. Next week, we'll move on to the topic of human equality. Have a good day.